An interesting study gets done on Game Pass, we get more information on Starfield and what is the secret project that the coalition is working on. Welcome everybody and thank you for joining me. So there is a couple of interesting things to go over today, starting with Xbox Game Pass. So Games Radar did an article where they pointed out a very interesting study that was done by Xbox on how Game Pass is becoming a central part of people's gaming lives. So pretty much what they did was monitor and poll a bunch of members of Game Pass to see exactly what they play, why they play it, and what is their reason for joining in the first place. Now this study actually shined a light on a lot of things that proved why Game Pass is so popular. So they say here we are coming out with this research to explore how people are using Game Pass and how it is contributing to behaviors, and it really reinforces a lot of things that we have heard from our members. That's key here because Microsoft is maintaining from the beginning that the service could be shaped by those who use it. Game Pass functionality, availability and catalog is all being steered by the players as Microsoft works to build a service that can sit at the center of the Xbox ecosystem. Now this whole study was done by Ben Decker, who is the head of gaming services at Microsoft, and this piece centers around one main question: what do you want out of Game Pass? And we got three pretty interesting answers. Now I thought this whole study was interesting because not only did it show patterns of choice people make, but it also went into enough detail to give us a glimpse of what Xbox is planning on doing with the service going forward, which I always think is extremely valuable. For instance, the study says the research showed that players in the UK are particularly fond of action adventure, sport and racing and first person shooters, while Europe players switch out FPS games for platformers. It's because of data like this that pushes Microsoft to make changes to the library that it does, introducing titles like MLB The Show to a platform for the first time, ensuring that racing games like Dirt 5 are being introduced to Game Pass shortly after launch, bringing popular games like GTA 5 back into play. This of course on top of the meaningful acquisitions it made in recent years to help expand Xbox options and flexibility in areas it can't easily serve through third-party partnerships alone. Now that second part of the statement that I just read is very important when they talk about meaningful acquisitions. These type of studies does impact the studios that Xbox decide to acquire. Now here is another very interesting stat: 55% of those surveyed said that the main reason why they joined is to get new games at release, that day one content. That is why we made the investment that we have. We have 23 studios across Xbox and Bethesda working on Halo, Forza, Fallout and new IPs that we haven't even talked about yet. That is going to blow your mind. We can deliver all of that into Game Pass day one, said Decker. The head of gaming services is also keen to stress that the ease of access is still a big priority even as the service expands in size and complexity, noting that Xbox Game Pass is the games you want with the people you want on the devices you want. Now I definitely fall in that 55% camp, but again you can see that people wanting new games is a big driving force behind the day and date releases. Now I can spend all day here picking this study apart, but unfortunately I do need to move on, so I will link the whole study down in the description below. If you are interested you can go and check it out. But up next let's talk about Starfield. Now we have heard so much over the last few months about this game without actually hearing anything about this game. Now the most notable piece of information we have received is that the game could be very close to done. In fact it might even release this year. Gaming Bolt reports that Xbox Insider, this name that I'm not even going to try to pronounce, said that he believes Starfield might launch this year as well, and recently during an Xbox Era podcast episode he elaborated on that. He explained that one of the reasons he believes is that Microsoft is purchasing ad space for Starfield in 2021. While that doesn't necessarily have to mean anything concrete, as he points out, Microsoft has also purchased ad time for Halo Infinite last year, which promptly got delayed into 2021. He does suggest that purchasing ad time for a game with no release date in the midst of a pandemic might hint at Microsoft being fairly confident that the game is closer to launch than many might expect. Now by this point you guys know how I feel about insider information, but it's been a slow news week, so please forgive me. But on a serious note also, I do think that this game is going to be the pillar of E3, and honestly we could see a release by the end of the year, which will be huge if you take into consideration that Halo Infinite is also going to be released. But then moving on, we will end things off with another rumor, and that is that Xbox is working on a game. And yes, you heard that correctly. Today's big news is that Xbox is working on a game. It's been a really slow news week. I saw every other big Xbox channel that I follow make a 20-minute video about this, so if you can't beat them, join them, I guess. So earlier this week I spoke about the development of Gears of War 6 and the collision switching over from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5, and also the announcement that they made stating that they do have a few new projects in the works. Now since then we have received a few updates about what this new potential project from the coalition could be. Now on a serious note, I know I joke around about rumors, but this information does come from Jeff Grubb, who is an extremely reliable insider. I've literally quoted his articles and saw it come true like a prophecy. But anyway, he says, speaking on the new podcast episode published by Colt Eastwood, what the coalition is working on is going to be a smaller, more experimental project. The purpose of this project, Grubb says, is for the studio to familiarize itself with Unreal Engine 5 and learn its ins and outs during the course of development. According to him, even this new game is going to take some time to develop, which is understandable since the coalition is shifting its pipeline to a whole nother engine, and once the studio is accustomed to the Unreal Engine 5, it will move back to Gears of War in full and begin to work on Gears of War 6 in earnest. So that pretty much sums up all that I have for today, so this is where I'm going to end it. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you would like to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing, and as always, please remember to stay safe, wash your hands, don't touch your face, and I hope to see you again soon.